I spent a long period of my life thinking that fitness and health and wellness was synonymous to having a six-pack ab or doing any of these things that one would associate with a very high level of fitness. Well, it turns out that just being fit does not mean that you're healthy. As I began to delve more deeply into things like testing my blood and my biomarkers to see what was going on inside my body, as I began to delve more deeply into my own longevity, my hair, my skin, my nails, all of these elements that might go a little bit beyond just the fitness component. Just being fit does not mean that you're going to live a long time. And so the lens through which I see the world is a lens that looks at not just performance, but performance and health and longevity. So what I really focus on, in addition to figuring out how to really combine performance and health and longevity, is this marriage of what I call ancestral wisdom to modern science. This openness to the idea that there are time-honored traditions and herbs and practices such as sunlight and low-level physical activity throughout the day and subjecting the body to cold and to heat, with modern science, modern fitness training principles, modern biohacks, modern things that we can use to make our journey to longevity or health or performance a little bit more efficient. One of the biggest mistakes people make is simply hitting it over and over and over again when it comes to fitness, and not focusing on some of the more important holistic parameters that go into living a long time and looking really good doing it. In reality, what we see is that you reach a certain point where fitnessing more and training more really doesn't help you, and in fact begins to hurt you. We know, for example, that once you exceed about 45 to 60 minutes of very intense exercise each day, you wind up creating inflammation and cardiovascular issues that could result in a decreased lifespan or decreased beauty due to excessive breakdown of collagen and elastin, a lot of the components that give us good hair and skin, nails, and complexion. There's a lot of research out there. There's a lot of science out there. There's a lot of folks in white lab coats in a research setting trying to determine for you what works and what doesn't. But the fact is, when it comes to fitness principles or training principles or nutrition principles or longevity principles or anything else that's been studied in a lab, you actually have to take that out and try it in a real world circumstance. That's why I've spent the past couple of decades traveling around the planet, competing in some of the most masochistic events known to man, putting my body through the ringer so that I can really say that I've experienced the full spectrum of all of these different fitnessing principles that are out there. So it's not enough to just be science and research based. You also have to be able to spend time in the trenches, figuring out what works and what doesn't and what things actually feel like. You know, I've been fortunate enough to have had some successes in my life that I'm very proud of. I've completed 13 different Ironman triathlons. I've achieved the Spartan Delta, which is a collection of some of the most difficult endurance and adventure and obstacle course racing events on the face of the planet, completed in a one-year timeline. I've been a New York Times best-selling author. I've been named as one of the world's most influential people in health and fitness. I've been voted as America's top personal trainer. I, of course, am equally as proud of having a wonderful wife of 14 years and 2 young boys who I've raised, and ultimately I attribute just about every success that I've had in life to the development of small routines, small habits that build up each day. For me, an average day is really based upon this concept, what some people might call a gong, doing small things over and over again as they build up and become habits in your life. That's really what my day looks like. For example, I wrote my first New York Times best-selling book by getting up early in the morning and simply spending 20 to 30 minutes each morning, in light of all my other tasks and all my other jobs and everything else I was doing, just getting up every day and putting that little bit of work in that over time built up. Over a year and a half allowed me to publish a 500-page book that I'm very proud of. Another example would be being able to run a corporation, run a company, and still be able to go compete in the Ironman World Championships or go be one of the top obstacle course racers in the world. How do I achieve something like that? By doing tiny little workouts all throughout the day, staying on my feet during the day, having a heavy object next to the room in my office where I'll go pick up something heavy each day, having a pull-up bar and a rule that every time I walk under that pull-up bar, I need to do 5 pull-ups. I spend about 10 to 15 minutes simply stretching and doing some deep tissue work, such as foam rolling or using some other device to dig into sore tissue. And by doing something like that each day, by the end of the week, I've amassed 90 minutes up to 2 hours of simply making my body better by doing a little bit every morning. All these little things that add up, that may seem trite at first, but that make a big, big difference in terms of ultimate success and formation of the body that I need to be able to have to compete in some of these events. You know, I've strongly identified that my purpose in life is to empower people to live an adventurous, joyful, and fulfilling life. I've certainly created videos that might inspire people to do that, but I've never actually put together a done-for-you, fully structured course that allows you to just simply glance at what you're supposed to do that day, and in a very simple and easy to understand and practical way. It is the culmination of a couple of decades of research that I've done into what it takes to achieve ultimate longevity and beauty. This quest to discover not only what it takes for me to live a more limitless life, but to discover what it takes for you and for everybody who I interact with to experience what it feels like to really have this amazing body and brain work the way that it's actually supposed to.